Can you share your screen? Ah, yes.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, voilà, here it is. Thank you for the introduction. So I've been invited to present IPSAS in a box that Armand referred to briefly in his presentation, which is in fact an e-learning, e-certification, and knowledge management solution that we've been developing while taking into account the needs identified on IPSAS project over the last 20 years. We've taken 2 years to develop it and 2 additional years to include additional features, looking at the commands and the input that has been made by the first users. So the solution is called IPSAS in a box because you see the content is included in different boxes. You have in the first 2 boxes the e-learning part. The third box is the e-assessment or e-certification part, and the next 2 boxes are the knowledge management part. So let's go briefly into the content for you to have a flavor of what it is exactly. So if I go in the first box, you see, here we have an outline of the standards. So we start with the conceptual framework like you've seen here. Like you've seen here, and then we can also have a series of all the standards which are here, and IPSAS 49 should be added, but we have that for all the standards. So here the first box gives you only an outline of the standards, giving very brief summary for those who want to know what it is about. Then we move to the second box, which is the e-learning, and which is really the heart of the solution itself. And then the first one is the IPSAS e-learning. So in this box, you see that the whole content is divided into modules addressing different themes. And within each module, you have different lessons corresponding. If I take, for example, fixed assets, well, you see here that fixed assets, sorry, I should take again, fixed assets, for example, is addressing, all the usual topics that you have in accounting. Now, if I take a bit more precisely into one of the lessons, you see that again it is addressing the different things that different matters that different topics that you are already seeing in an e-learning. But here recognition, for example, you see it's explained in plain text, so well, not copy and pasting all the time the standards, but also including in some boxes, like here in light red, I would say some additional tips that are very useful for the implementation. So we see measurement, it's presented in the same way, etc., disclosure, etc. And then we have, in the end, a number of practice questions, which are used to test the user's knowledge about topics that have been covered in the lessons. And then what we can do in these lessons is just to say, okay, let's just take one answer. It's not correct, so let's take the other one, and then of course check my answer, and the system tells you why it was a correct answer, which is quite useful for the knowledge building. We can do the same afterwards for each of the practice questions. You can test twice and make twice an error. And after 2 tries, the system prompts you, okay, show me the answer. And then, of course, you are again indicated what was the correct answer with the explanation of why it was the correct answer. So you have also 2 different levels of difficulty for the questions. You have the basic questions, but you also have more advanced questions, like here a small case study exercises where, for example, you should input one number. So we have that for, I would say, all the topics. all the topics and all the modules, and within all the modules you have different lessons, and this is presented in the same way. For example, consolidation, well, it is presented a bit differently because here you talk first about consolidation scope and about consolidation procedures, but the way the modules and then the lessons are built are the same. You have, I would say, the principles, and then you have the practice questions in the end. When you look at the homepage for the e-learning, you see that it takes more or less 40 hours for somebody having a normal, an average knowledge of accrual accounting to complete it, without being an expert, without being necessarily somebody who is very familiar and have an in-depth knowledge of all the accrual accounting principles, but it takes 40 hours to complete. And then you also have an indication of how much it takes for each module, how many lessons you have in one module, and also a tracking bar just to show you where you are in your learning. When a module is done, or when everything is done, what you can do is to generate a certificate of attendance. You go on the top, I will show you, and then you can generate a certificate of attendance, which, for example, here you see you can input your logo. Here it's a logo of one of the governors who used the application, and then the signature below. You can also input the signature of anybody who you would like, and it can be, for example, well, the institute of your country, or it can be the Ministry of Finance. Yeah, this is very tailorable. Going back, I would say to the IPSAS e-learning. We go now to the next box, which is practice with exercises. So in addition to the practice questions at the end of each lesson, you also have a box where you have some tests which are presented, several series of 20 questions, putting you in the format of an exam. And then, of course, with questions addressing different topics. And you have, for example, 5 tests addressing the more basic questions, and 5 series of tests addressing the questions about more advanced questions, so with a level of difficulty which is higher, to also help you progress in your learning. We have that in the first 2 boxes, and then what we have done as well is put separately the more recently issued standards. Well, because somebody who says, okay, I know IPSAS, but I just want to do the latest standards, so everything will be included in those last 2 boxes. Going back to the homepage, you will see here the next box, which is the e-assessment. So when you're ready, you can take the e-assessments. And then you should just click on Start, and then the e-assessment starts, and you have basically 75 minutes to complete a 30 multiple choice questionnaire. And then your pass grade is at 50%, and you can even achieve distinctions if you achieve a higher pass grade. And then these grade distinctions might be indicated, if you choose so, on the certificates that will be generated. You have 3 attempts over the subscription period to do so, not to make it too easy, because it has a value. You should not have 10 attempts, for example. It would not be very, very meaningful. So you have 3 attempts to pass the test and to show that you are an IPSAS expert. So again, you can generate a certificate that you can generate here. When you see when it is in dark color, certificate in IPSAS, here you can click on it and just have, like I will show below, a certificate, which you see is branded by the ACAW. The ACAW is collaborating with PwC on this initiative, and you see that ACAW is putting its stamp. But if you would like, you can also put the logo again of your local accountancy institute, of your Ministry of Finance or academy. Everything is possible. You can also choose not to disclose the distinction, the pass rate that you've got. This is also something that can be tailored. And you see here that the certificate of attendance can be generated out of this box as well. Now, going back on the home page, we move now to the last boxes, which is one, for example, just showing, I would say, newsletters, more or less 10 pages newsletters, which we prepare every quarter after each IPSAS-B meeting. And then we can have in the next box also other types of publications, for example, a number of publications issued by PwC, but also ACAW on public finance matters, just also to address, I would say, the topic of public finance, which we have already discussed is very close to IPSAS, and IPSAS is very important, but also to help better finance public finances. And then the last box, which is, I would say, last but not least, which is empty, because it can be tailored according to the wishes of any organization. For example, should you want to put your chart of accounts, your format of financial statements, your reporting templates, your closing guidelines for the accounts of your territory, everything is possible, and it can be included here. So when we see this, you see that the solution is very tailorable. The e-assessments can be tailored because not only to put, as I mentioned here, not to have only an e-assessments for the normal assessment to say, okay, you are an expert in IPSAS, but also have a more foundational e-assessment to be addressed to those accountants that do not necessarily need to be expert, but just need to have the basics. And then this e-assessment addresses more basic questions. This is the by default test, but also the content of the test, the questions can be tailored, can be changed for the organization itself.
2 minutes.
Yeah. So I come in the end. So I say this is tailorable according to the exams that may be tailorable. The content can be added here, which is tailorable. The IPSAS e-learn, the content itself can be changed according to some accounting options that can be added that are specific to the entity and the government. Yeah, this is something that generally is felt very, very useful. And then we have maybe the last one, which I say, according to the language, the settings can be changed to change the language. Here it's in English, but when we go here, I have changed to French. You see that everything will change into the French language, for example. So we've done it in French, but as Arman have said, we've done it in Georgian as well, for example, in a different alphabet. And generally, it's very useful because for government officials, yeah, not everyone speaks English perfectly. And indeed, yeah, having the e-learn and the e-certification tools prepared, I would say, in the available in the own language, it can help a lot to populate in a consistent way. I would say the accounting policies, but the learning, the capacity building across the country. As last point, I would say that this solution is available on any device, including on mobile. Everything, nearly everything, is also available offline, which can help in areas where internet is, I would say, less stable. Yeah, that's basically what it is. a very quick presentation of the solution.